The last of the open debate contributions is Ruth Maguire.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. I'd like to start by thanking my colleague Joan McAlpine for bringing this debate to the Chamber and highlighting in her really interesting opening speech not just the cultural but also the economic benefits that Robert Burns brings us. Of course, without Irvine, there quite simply wouldn't have been a world-famous poet called Robert Burns for us to debate today. And that's why I was surprised and actually a wee bit disappointed to have seen no reference to the town of Irvine on the website of the Centre for Burns Studies that the motion refers to. As I spoke about at length last year, and make no apologies for repeating it today, Irvine is without doubt the cradle of the poet. In 1781, young Robert Burns arrived in Irvine as an apprentice flax worker. By the time he left Irvine the following year, he had resolved to endeavour at the character of a poet, in large part due to the friendship that developed between Burns and a local sea captain, Richard Brown, who encouraged him to become a poet. So Burns the man may have been born in Alloway, but Burns the poet was born in Irvine. And thus it seems fitting that Irvine's home to the oldest Burns club in the world, with an unbroken history since it was first established in 1826. Later this month, Annie Small will be installed as the first ever female president of the club in its nearly 200-year history. As a lifelong egalitarian and as a man who expressed support for women's rights long before those views were even remotely fashionable, I'm sure that the Bard would have welcomed this as much as I do. As well as the oldest Burns club in the world, Irvine is home to the Wellwood Burns Centre and Museum, which cares for a hugely impressive collection of Burns-related items, from priceless original manuscripts and letters to rare and significant books and paintings. Amongst the museum's collection are 6 of the original manuscripts which Burns sent to the printer John Wilson in Kilmarnock for his famous Kilmarnock edition. Visitors can also see the world-famous painting, Burns in Edinburgh, painted in 1887 by C.M. Hardy, as well as a set of 5 large oil paintings of scenes from Tam O'Shanter, commissioned by the club. The museum possesses original letters from Robert Burns to his friend David Siller, as well as a letter to Robert Burns from his brother Gilbert Burns, dealing with family and farming matters. And this is just a really small snapshot of the vast array of unique and priceless Burns-related items and artefacts held by our museum in Irvine, a museum located in the heart of the very town where the poet was created. I trust members by now will share my surprise and disappointment that Irvine Burns Club and Museum is not listed alongside the likes of the Burns Birthplace Museum and the National Library of Scotland as a must-visit for Burns enthusiasts. It's often said that Irvine is the best-kept secret in the Burns world, and that certainly does seem to be the case. But I don't think we want it to be a secret any longer. We want it to enjoy national and international recognition, that recognition that it deserves. And we want to see Irvine take its place in the Burns-related cultural tourism hotspot that it rightly should be. So as Burns Day approaches, I'd like to extend an invite to the Cabinet Secretary and to the Minister, and indeed bearing in mind Oliver Mundell's contribution to all of you in the Chamber, to come and see the magnificent collection in Irvine. Come and see the museum. I'll look forward to welcoming you all. Thank you.